notice of withdrawal follows the dilemma South Africa faced last year when it came under pressure to arrest Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir. He had been attending an African Union summit in Johannesburg. Al-Bashir is wanted by the ICC for alleged war crimes. Justice Minister Michael Masuta says the International Court's obligations are inconsistent with domestic legislation.
We wish to give effect to the rule of customary international law, which recognizes the diplomatic immunity of heads of state and others in order to effectively promote dialogue and the peaceful resolution of conflicts wherever they may occur, particularly on the African continent.
Under the Rome Statute, countries have a legal obligation to arrest anyone sought by the Hague Tribunal. Masuta has emphasized that South Africa remains committed to holding anyone who has committed crimes against humanity accountable.
Our unwavering commitment to the promotion and protection of human rights throughout Africa and elsewhere in the world is further demonstrated by our continued participation in various international and continental human rights instruments.
Several African countries have expressed concern that the ICC appears biased against African leaders. The decision has been criticized by human rights organizations. They say it shows startling disregard for justice for a country like South Africa that's known globally as a champion for human rights.
We are really seriously concerned that South Africa has taken this decision to withdraw from the ICC, which is a decision that is in disregard with South Africa's long history as a country that stands with victims of the most serious abuses. We hope that South Africa would reconsider its position and not move away from the ICC.
On the streets, however, opinions are varied.
We shouldn't look at it as if we are now moving away from participating in international things. I just think we are now looking at dealing with African problems the African way. The International Criminal Court has never served any African agenda. They've always been Western, how do I say? They've always served Western interests. So Africa for Africans.
I think it's a good idea because as Africans we should deal with our own matters and not rely on other people.
Minister Masuta has also confirmed that the government will withdraw its appeal of a High Court ruling that found authorities were obligated to arrest al-Bashir last year. Yolisa, Njamela, CCTV, Pretoria, South Africa.
Let's get you more reactions on that story now. I'm joined live from New York by correspondent William Denslow. William, what's been the response from the UN following South Africa's announcement it will be withdrawing from the ICC?
Well, the United Nations have confirmed they've received the receipt from South Africa to leave the ICC, and UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric says that it is bona fide and it is currently being processed, and it's believed that this will come into effect in about a year's time. Now, in terms of the United Nations reaction, expect a great deal of disappointment. Of course, on that news last year that South Africa wasn't going to arrest Omar al-Bashir, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon came out and stated that the ICC must be respected and decisions must be implemented. Now, you mentioned the reaction from human rights groups. Human Rights Watch have come out and said that this shows a startling disregard for justice. Of course, the view from out of South Africa is that as part of their legislation, heads of state have diplomatic immunity. That's something that the ICC and the UN just don't see eye to eye on.
Well, how concerned is the UN about other countries following South Africa's example?
Well, there's a huge concern. Of course, some 34 African nations have signed up to the Rome Statute, and the worry is that, of course, South Africa is such a key player on the continent. Of course, just last year, Namibia said they wanted to potentially leave the ICC. Just a few weeks ago, Burundi made similar claims, and there's the concern that other nations on the continent will follow suit. Now, many pointing to whether Kenya will be the next in line. Of course, Uhuru Kenyatta has been charged at the ICC in the past over charges when it came to crimes against humanity. Of course, that charge was kicked out due to a lack of evidence. But there is a real concern, considering the African Union have stated in the past they believe that the ICC on occasion is biased. And their rationale for that, they say that of the 10 current investigations taking place at the ICC, 9 of which contain African parties.
Well, William Denslow, live for us in New York. Many thanks.